On behalf of Youth4Water Plus family, I, Shagun, welcome you all to this interesting, rather captivating panel discussion with UN Water Conference ki Kahaani, Delegates ki Zubaani. As you all know, Youth4Water Plus is a UNICEF-led, partnerships-driven, exciting and ambitious campaign aimed at inspiring, networking, informing and supporting youth to become climate change and WASH action leaders in Odisha. We have already reached out to 400,000 youth, trained 20,000 as WASH guardians, awarded 11 innovation awards, and supported several activities for climate change, WASH, and water. Today, I'm glad to interact with three delegates from India who represented us at UN Water Conference held in New York. I know our viewers and audience must be very excited to meet them. Water is indeed the biggest deal maker to achieve the international agreed climate and water related goals and targets, including those contained in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The conference, co-hosted by the governments of Kazakhstan and Netherlands, focused on an opening and close ceremony, 6 plenary meetings, and 5 multi-stakeholder interactive dialogues. UN Water Conference also hosted high-level special events and side events organized by member states, the UN system, and other stakeholders. So, without wasting much of our time, let us now meet the three delegates and listen to their Kahaani of the UN Water Conference in their own Zubaani. So, hello Priyanka, please introduce yourself.
Hello, Shagun. First of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the Youth for Water Plus campaign, all of you team for having me here today. I'm very, very excited to get to speak to all of you and share the experience as a UN Water Conference delegate. So my name is Priyanka Shenge. I am part of the MYCA MICA team. MICA stands for Maharashtra Youth for Climate Action, which is somewhat similar to what Youth for Water Plus does in UNICEF Odisha. We have started this in UNICEF Maharashtra, along partners with Center for Environment Education. We're now slowly broadening the partners as well, with more coming up. Aquadam, where we will also be having a water conservation campaign, which was launched recently. So I was very much grateful and honored to be as UNICEF India delegate and represent the youth of India as part of the New York UN Water Conference. And a little bit background about myself. I've been doing environment sustainability work since the past 4 years now, with a bachelor's in environmental science, master's in sustainable development. So very much fond of this sector and very excited to get to meet new youth from Odisha. And I've met Abhishek and Gokul, so very excited to hear from them too.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. That was amazing. I look forward to having a great discussion with you. Our interests are very similar and I'm pretty sure it's going to be fun. So, hello Gokul. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Shakun. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Priyanka, Abhishek. I hope you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
So I'm Gokul, and I'm Gokul Rajendran from Kerala. And I'm a final year medical student, like Ayurvedic student. So right now I'm studying that as my bachelor's right now. And I'm like the CEO and like founder of Govardhan app. And also I'm doing some active work on climate awareness, which is like a project called Climate Entertainment, which is something like we wanted to make movies, like really entertaining movies for bringing up awareness. So that's my deal here. And so it's so nice to see a lot of people here, like Omkar, Abhishek, Priyanka, and also like the audience. Some of the names are so familiar, and nice to see you guys here. Thanks for the support. Yeah.
Thank you, Gokul. That sounds very interesting. We'll surely dig into the climate entertainment project in a while.
Okay.
So, Abhishek, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Abhishek Mari from Youth4Water Plus team, representing Youth4Water Plus in UN Water Conference, and I'm also a youth climate champion of UNEP India. And Great to see you all here, and thanks to Youth for Water team for this interactive session. And I'm completing my diploma in disaster management. I'm completing my diploma in journalism from European University virtually. I'm also completing my diploma in mass communication and journalism, and currently pursuing my bachelor's. And I'm looking for great support from all youth of world, and day by day doing something for our nature to prevent our nature, our environment. And I'm also engaging myself in more to serve the country, serve the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. That was great. So now before going on, I think I would introduce myself. So I am Shagun and I recently completed my undergrad in sustainable development from XIM University. I'm an incoming master's candidate at Columbia Climate School and I'm majoring in climate and society. So I guess I'll be spending a year in New York and you guys can give me travel tips if that matters. And other than that, I have also been actively engaged in a lot of youth-driven climate action activities. I run an organization, a student-driven organization called Chilika Junior Rangers, which is backed by the state government and the US Consulate General Chennai. So we are trying to eradicate single-use plastic from Chilika region by engaging the local youth as change makers. Apart from that, Priyanka, I am also working with the CEE and we are designing an environmental education package for Puri. So I am looking forward to a great interaction today and it's indeed my pleasure to moderate today's session. So to dig right into the panel discussion, I would first like to congratulate Abhishek on the honor of being a delegate at the International UN Water Conference. So to start the discussion, let us try to get to understand what the UN Water Conference is all about. What is this conference and why it was held? What was its aim and motives? So Abhishek, if you could please throw some light on that.
I would like to introduce about what is a UN Water Conference. UN Water Conference is a midterm revised agenda of UN Water Action Plan from 2018 to 2028. I think the main topic of the discussion is more United Nations Joint SDG funds, water blue economy, the role of UN Joint SDG fund, enhancing water resiliency in food system through water stereotypes, water and youth participation in government, operationalizing water and climate youth demand, strategy a way forward to implementation of water action agenda. It's hosted by Kazakhstan and Netherlands, and it's hosted in UN Water Conference, UN Water Headquarters in New York, USA.
Thank you. That was really insightful, and we've set the agenda right now. So, Priyanka, congratulations again on being a delegate at the UN Water Conference. So, to move ahead with the question for you, you would have heard representations, presentations, and the commitments made by different countries there at the UN Water Conference. So, would you like to share some that struck you as being very important? What was the larger picture that engaged on global commitments to water?
Thanks, Shagun. So, as someone who was representing UNICEF India, for me, it was very important to see the different commitments, and it was very enticing to see that all these different, people from government agencies, ministries were there. So it was the first time for me to see something like this at a global scale. So firstly, overall, there was approximately 700 voluntary commitments and pledges that was submitted by the member states, the governments, and the different countries that were representing at the UN Water Conference. So in those 700 commitments, different pledges were made by non-profit organizations, private sector, then women's group, intergovernmental organizations also part of it made their commitments and pledges. And then together, the entire pledge made during the conference amounted up to $300 billion. So there is this momentum on water action, sustainable development for water and health. So all these different fronts, you had different governments depending upon their context, discussing on how they will make sure voluntarily commit to water as an agenda for the next coming years. So particularly if we look at India, what happened is government of India has pledged to invest $240 billion to provide safe and adequate drinking water in for rural Indian households. So we've seen that their commitment towards the Jal Jeevan mission, towards the different flagship schemes that are happening, which we all know about. These were pledged as part of the UN Water Conference. So we had the ministry, the minister had come from Minister of Jal Shakti, and so we had these commitments put forward.
Okay, that was really great, and it was really nice to listen that people are actually, and our world leaders are focusing on water issues, and we're investing huge money in it. However, a follow-up to what you just answered, you said $240 billion is now being invested in India for water-related activities, which makes me super happy. So, do you think being a part of such a big conference, have we actually started accepting the interdisciplinarity of issues? Because like you mentioned, so much is being invested in one particular issue, but can we focus on just one issue without touching the others? So what would your take be on that?
So my personal take would be that, of course, we have to look at it interdisciplinarily. We have to ensure that we don't just look at it from one lens. We look at it from a holistic perspective, which I think the momentum with activism, with youth has already begun in India and also globally. But if we look at governments, some governments are yet to take on board that challenge, because there are multiple reasons. As UNICEF, we keep working closely with the government, so we understand what are the challenges in them taking this this interdisciplinary quickly on board and then acting towards it. So I think there's a lot more that India can do in terms of how are we engaging in the interdisciplinarily, looking at a holistic lens. And I think that youth as us, we can play a very major role in helping drive the commitment towards making sure the holistic perspective is given.
Very well answered. Thank you, Priyanka. Now moving ahead to Gokul. Congratulations, Gokul, for participating in the UN Water Conference in New York. So my question to you would be, what, in your opinion, is the importance of youth involvement in conferences like these? Do you think there was adequate youth representation in this particular conference?
Thank you so much for that, Shagun. So the UN Water Conference was amazing, and it was there was a lot of youth over there, but I don't feel that it was enough. There was a need for more, and I feel like we need more youth to be part of these kinds of events and conferences, because from India I met Abhishek, Priyanka, and 2 or 3 or 4 more mostly other than them. That was something I feel very bad, because when there was a lot of issue with the visa processing, and even for me I was really worried whether I could make it there or not. For first thing was the visa issue, and second thing I've really felt more is that youth in my region, or from a perspective of a local region, not from a big city or something, from place where I'm studying, or my college, or in my community, people doesn't know about all these conferences, how they can be involved, and there is a huge gap of people don't know how to get involved on all of these things. So I have people saying to me that after you going to these places and showing them through Instagrams and WhatsApps about my journey, what I do over there, people are saying that we are understanding about climate change or what's happening around the world, that we are understanding and we are getting inspired by that. After that, so until that, they are not even cared for climate change or what's going on. They just think that this is a factor of the officials or those people who are in high positions around the world. Just they had to do this only. But involvement of youth made a new level of change, and also young people are getting more interested in this field, learning about it themselves, researching on it themselves. That's the main point. we are starting to do it ourselves without any support from like the older generation. That's the main thing I felt in the UN Water Conference, seeing this youth like Priyanka, Abhishek, everyone was there to study themselves. Like Abhishek, you made your own notes today, right? So you are preparing for yourself by self. You are learning about this and everything, and that's creating a change. And we need to scale this up, and there is a lot to cover, like a lot of people to reach, and a lot of young people to come to this, make their own changes, their own initiatives, their own efforts to make change. Yeah, so that's it from my side.
Thank you. First of all, I would really like to thank you for motivating so many people through your activities. Like you mentioned that because of your Instagram stories and everything, a lot of people in areas, in very remote areas, they get to know about climate change and relevant issues, which probably, are like they are probably more affected by these issues. So I think it's very important for those people to be aware about the same. And like you mentioned, I strongly agree that there's a huge gap between global agenda and local
Right now,
implementation.
I'm getting the effect of climate change. Look at my face.
Yeah.
I'm sweating right now. It's like too hot here. Not even rain. Like I was
Odisha is
expecting
the
it
hottest.
today.
I'm from Odisha, and Odisha is the hottest place on Asia right now. So climate change is real.
Yeah, right now. It's too hot here.
Yes, so like I was mentioning, I do believe that there's a huge gap between global agendas and local implementation. And I'm pretty sure that the conference must have covered something about this. So any one of our panelists, if you would like to go ahead and throw some light on how do you think we can bridge this possible gap between global agendas and local implementation?
So I think the ways that we are doing, so for instance, this webinar is a great way of bringing those learnings back to our networks. जैसे यहाँ पे I think माइका नेटवर्क से भी कहीं जुड़े हुए हैं, यूथ फॉर वाटर से कहीं यूथ जुड़े हुए, so that really helps कि हम जो experiences है वो share कर सकते हैं. By sharing these experiences, so we have to create such platforms, right? For us, we have to create strong platforms where we can advocate and bring that international agenda to the local level, also take the local agenda to the international level, so that there is a push from both sides. So I think, but
Exactly.
there's still yet like a clear way where we can see policy process being sent to international and then coming back to local. So that I think is we're open to ideas. I think we should all ideate and see what works best.
That's a place for youth right now. They can come innovate and change.
And we have to, like in the words of the former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, there's no plan B as there's no planet B. So it is the time for all of us to, ideate. Like Priyanka mentioned, we need more platforms like this. We need more discussions like this. So yeah, we're all taking our first steps. So moving on, Priyanka, I am very interested about this particular question. You work with a larger youth network at Maharashtra called MICA. Did you discuss the issues, challenges, and perspectives of youth at the UNWC? I'm sure you did. Can you tell me like a little bit more about the insights you got on similar issues, challenges, and perspectives of youth from other countries? And if you could share a particular story, which stayed back with you.
Sure. So as part of being there, I was very much privileged to share the network of MICA at the UN headquarters. So it was a big goosebump moment for me, where I could share the work that I've been doing for 1 year now, along with the MICA team. So with there, we also got to learn about other networks, other youths were there, and a story that was particular that struck me the most is there was a side event where two young women from Sudan were representing along with their minister who had come in to present Sudan Youth Parliament for Water. So they have also, convened a platform where they can speak up about youth of Sudan, speak up about what is the issues and what are the solutions for youth engagement in water. So I think that was a great learning experience for me. And, with all these different international events, the story was that there were very little people in that particular session. I think it was like a 3-4 people only in the whole round table discussion, despite having the government bodies also there with at the side event. But in that setting as well, I mean, I closely got to interact with these two young girls who drive as part of the chair of the Sudan Youth Parliament, and it was really interesting to see how similar the activities were with what we do at MICA with and what they do. So learnings also became sort of, because a country like Sudan has the context is much different, but yet the water issues, youth issues, where their representation at government is very little. So they form their own platforms similar to what we are doing. So a lot of learnings came through there, where the stories, as they were young women, I could relate very closely, with the different challenges that they were saying that, okay, we built our confidence while speaking to the government, which is something that I am learning as we go ahead, because it's quite if we want to have policy advocacy, we have to sit with the government. So that itself becomes similar challenges what Sudan faces with what we face in Maharashtra. So it was a really great story that I could bring back to us. Is that it was very inspiring for me to see those two young women from Sudan there.
Perfect. So one of the best part about conferences or going out is the multi-sectoral learning that you come back with, the cross-sectional learning that you engage in. So like you mentioned, there might be some common issues or there might be different issues. However, you could relate to them because, we are all facing issues. Climate issues are facing each and everybody. So yeah, that is one great story and probably I'll take it back too. So coming to Abhishek. You represented the Odisha Youth4Water Plus cohort at the UN Water Conference, not just as a delegate, but also as a key organizer of 3 virtual and 1 in-person event with Youth4Water Plus partners. What was your experience like? Your key insights, especially from the perspective of youth? Did you feel there were things that were lacking or issues that were not addressed by the UN Water Conference and other international conferences? And do you think that these issues should have been included?
Thanks Youth4Water Plus for providing me an opportunity to represent Youth4Water Plus and the youth of Odisha in UN Water Conference. But मेरे हिसाब से देखे तो वो जो एक्सपीरियंस मुझे वहाँ पे फील हुआ यूएन वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंस में, वहाँ से आने के बाद और वहाँ जाने से पहले मुझे जो एक्सपीरियंस हुआ उससे मुझे देख के लगा कि देयर इज अ लार्ज गैप बिटवीन द यूथ ऑफ ओडिशा एंड द यूथ प्रेजेंटेड इन द यूएन वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंस, बिकॉज जो मैंने फील किया कि जो यूथ presented in UN Water Conference, they are funded by UN authorities or funded by an international intergovernmental organizations, and they are coming from urban backgrounds. जो मैंने जो देखा उसके हिसाब से मैंने वही देखा कि वहाँ पे they are only promoting their organizations, they are only promoting their own thoughts, but they are not taking lead for a group, they are not taking a lead for a whole community. सो मुझे लगता है कि अभी एक जो लार्ज गैप है बिटवीन द ग्लोबल एंड द लोकल यूथ, क्योंकि लोकल यूथ जो होता है उसे मतलब पता भी नहीं चल पाता है कि व्हाट्स गोइंग ऑन फॉर देम. मतलब मैंने कल मतलब एक बात डिस्कशन में आई कि मतलब हमारे लिए अधिकार बना दिए जाते हैं हमारे लिए, लेकिन हमें नहीं पता चलता है कि हमारे लिए अधिकार क्या बने. मतलब हमारे लिए ही निर्णय ले लिया जाता है. यूएन वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंस में देखने को मिला कि वी आर कमिटिंग द वाटर इज अ ह्यूमन राइट्स, यू डिमांड द गवर्नमेंट्स एंड द कॉर्पोरेशन प्रोवाइड द नीड्स ऑफ कम्युनिटीज एंड इंश्योरिंग द वाटर रिसोर्स एंड मैनेज सस्टेनेबिलिटी इक्वलिटी. यूथ ऑल्सो अर्ज द इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी टू रिकॉग्नाइज द रोल ऑफ इंडिजीनियस कम्युनिटी एज स्टेवर्ड्स ऑफ वाटर रिसोर्स एंड रिस्पेक्ट देयर राइट्स एंड ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज. ये कमिटमेंट आया है यूथ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन यूनाइटेड नेशन की यंगों से. लेकिन क्या हमने कभी फील किया, मुझे लगा कि हमारे उड़ीसा का जो इंडिजीनियस यूथ है उसकी वॉइस वहां तक पहुंच नहीं सकी. एक लार्ज गैप बिटवीन द लोकल यूथ एंड ग्लोबल यूथ. वी आर ओनली टेकिंग कमिटमेंट्स, वी आर ओनली टेकिंग वी आर ओनली मेकिंग एजेंडाज एंड पॉलिसी एंड समथिंग, बट वो जो एक गैप है ना वो अभी मेरे हिसाब से वो अभी फुल नहीं हो पाया है, वो गैप अभी क्लोज नहीं हो पाया है. उन्होंने तीसरा एजेंडा लिखा है यूनाइटेड नेशन फेडरेशन ऑफ चिल्ड्रन एंड यूथ फॉर वाटर एंड क्लाइमेट. यूनिफाई ने अपना स्टेटमेंट दिया कि एजुकेशन इज अ की टू एड्रेसिंग वाटर चैलेंजेस एट यूनिवर्सिटी एंड सपोर्ट प्रोग्राम दैट इंक्रीज अवेयरनेस द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ वाटर कंजर्वेशन and sustainabilities. Youth also encouraged to private sector to invest the educational program that promote sustainable water and practices among the employee and customer. ये कमेंट, ये जब मैंने कमिटमेंट सुना और जब कमेंट्स मैंने पढ़ा तो मुझे देख के लगा कि क्या हमारे उड़ीसा का यूथ, इवन हमारे इंडिया का कुछ यूथ को छोड़ के क्या और यूथ यहाँ पे पार्ट ले रहा है, या उसकी बातें या यहाँ की बातें उस तक पहुंच रही है या नहीं। तो मुझे अभी भी एक्सपीरियंस हुआ कि यहाँ पे एक लार्ज गैप जो बना हुआ है वो अभी तक भी बना हुआ है, क्योंकि हमारे जो इंडिजीनियस कम्युनिटीज की बात करते हैं, हम बात करते हैं ट्रेडिशनल चीजों की, हम बात करते हैं सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट की, लेकिन मेरे एक्सपीरियंस से COP27 एंड वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंस में अभी भी वो कोसों दूर है, माइल्स 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 अवे। मतलब वो बातें वहां तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाती है, और वहां पे पार्टिसिपेट कौन करता है। इवन अगर मुझे यूथ फॉर वाटर वो अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं प्रोवाइड करता टू रिप्रेजेंट यूथ फॉर वाटर इन यूएन वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंस, तो मुझे जाने का वहाँ कोई मौका नहीं मिलता, और मेरी भी बातों को वहाँ सुनने का कोई, मैं तो सोच भी नहीं सकता। लेकिन जब मुझे वहां जाने का मौका मिला, मैंने बांग्लादेश की कहानी सुनी, मैंने किस तरीके से वहां पे टुवालो की कहानी सुनी। टुवालो की कहानी मुझे सुन के बहुत ही अचंभित हुआ कि वहां का राष्ट्रपति कमर इतने पानी में खड़े होके अब की बार उन्होंने वीडियो रिकॉर्ड किया था कि मतलब वहाँ वाटर क्राइसिस और उन्होंने क्या क्या फेस कर रहे हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज। लेकिन जो वहाँ के यूथ के पर्सपेक्टिव से देखें तो अभी हमारा उड़ीसा का यूथ, अभी हमारा इंडिया के यूथ, और जो यूएन वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंसेस होती हैं, जो कॉप होती हैं, जो क्वाई होती हैं, उसके बीच में एक लॉन्ग डिफरेंस है, एक गैप। दैट्स ऑल।
मुझे भी डालना है कुछ इस पर। अच्छा नहीं है इसलिए क्षमा कर दो। सो इट्स लाइक हम मेरा भी वीसा के लिए बहुत मुश्किल था मुझे। लाइक मेरा वीसा के लिए मैं इंडिया के लाइक मैं हिंदी छोड़ रहा हूँ, sorry for that. So I try to like get the visa from like the embassy of Mumbai, Delhi, and every place I tried, like with an emergency request for this. Like I have UN letter, both for CSW 67 and also for the UN Water Conference. I have both invitation letter for that. I had a conference in Boston that was in Harvard University, and I had like an emergency request from them to give me visa, and I tried to get the visa, and they declined my request to get an appointment in India. So for that, I had to fly to Jakarta to get the visa. That was the biggest thing I had to do. Like and this was possible because of the funding I got for my from Harvard University HPAIR for like a scholarship, and also like another event in Canada for my Govardhan app. So without these scholarships, I could have never made all this happen in like a loop of events I had to go for. Like so the funding is a main issue. The second is visa processing. Most of the indigenous people who are having an action, like a youth I know, like Prakash from Gujarat, I think he is like a youth activist. He doesn't know about like how to create an organization, make an NGO. He doesn't know, but he's trying, and I can see that. And young people are trying to do something, and still he has got rejections for visa for some countries. So he didn't come for water conference, but he has got rejection letters for visa. And most of the other people who were working in Kerala, like Akhilesh, he's also part of a UN like UN youth. He's like a member or something, and they also had issue with visa. Like appointment was a real big issue. I tried to get visa from India. I went to Canada and I tried for US embassy in Canada, and there also I didn't get my like emergency request approved. So it was really hard journey for me to get to US. So I'm feeling so much like really angry about that, because I tried my best. I like put all my scholarship money into making all this happen, and going over there to get my voice heard. It was like a long journey for me from here. And tried everything in Bangalore, Mumbai, and everything. I even tried to text every consulate general office, like emailing them and everything, and I didn't get any reply as well. So it was a real big like hassle to get this all done, and youth is facing that issue. And some of the youth which is from the local area, they are not getting an approved visa because of their locality, or they are from the backward community or indigenous community. The countries are not allowing them to go to that conferences. So that's the biggest issue. Funding and visa approval is the biggest issue we are facing as youth.
I strongly agree with what you guys have just said, because I do believe that the institutional framework currently existing in India does not really promote a lot of youth intervention into climate action. So everything that we are doing is more or less on our own, like you mentioned that hum sab kuch khud hi kar rahe hain. So I think at this stage where the youth is, day by day growing a little more aware about the need to act, there should be some increase in the institutional framework, be it government or multilateral agencies, say like UNICEF or UNDP or organizations. They should, foster this process so that the youth can represent themselves at, platforms that can make a change. So one thing is institutional framework, like we all discussed. And the other thing would also be adequate representation. Like all of you agreed that, a lot of youth were not present at the conference from India. And one of the major reasons was most of us were not aware. Honestly, even I wasn't aware at that point of time. And by the time I got, to know that this is happening, the deadlines were gone.
It was late. So it was not enough time for applying for the visa with the invitation letter.
Right. So an increase in climate education, more support from the government and institutional, better institutional frameworks and more representation. So these are three very relevant and important points that we came out from this small discussion right now. So
also, I want to just add before we move on to the next one is when we're talking about UN agencies, right? So suppose I looked at the way that this process happened, I also was not sure till the last moment, till we got all our UN, visa done, that whether I'll be going or not. So and I was being funded by UNICEF India. So if we look at the UN process for having youth represent in conferences like these, I think there should be a dedicated, youth organization that looks at this, because if you really want to have meaningful engagement where young people from across the different categories are represented there, then that should also become part of your main agenda when they are planning such discussions.
Exactly.
Because
Right.
if it sort of becomes at the end moment where they would want to have representation, so then they reach out to us in our capacities in the country level or the local level, and then it happens. So maybe I mean I can completely understand, there were 6,000 people there, so it's not an easy task to have so many people at one place. So maybe preparation wise we could help. So, there could be ways to help each other out. There could be a mechanism where that sort of planning can be done for such events, but it should be way more than just the conference delegation. It should be also meaningfully, how do we take the delegation there forward to actually complete the pledge and commitment, and till the end process itself, where the actual
Yes,
commitment
like
is
what after the conference?
exactly. So that is also one concern.
That is a very relevant question that you just raised. What after the conference? Like, all of you are back. How are you striving towards obtaining the pledge that you made there? Right. So moving on, I would now like to ask Gokul. I am actually very interested and thrilled to hear about the climate entertainment project that you mentioned. That is something that is really interesting. So if you could throw some light on that particular project. And I heard that you did a walk in the UN General Assembly. Wow, that is something. So please do tell us more about these. And can you tell us what is the importance of it and what was your intention and message to the world with that?
Thank you so much for the question. So climate entertainment is like an initiative I'm making for myself, like an individual person. I wanted to innovate a way that after attending a conference, how this information or what happened over there, like the conversation we are having right now, reaches to the general public or the people who are like on the base level affected by the climate change, like by this heat right now. Right now I can see people walking out having their day who is suffering from this heat. So how can I tell them what's happening in these places, in the conferences, at water conference or any other conference? So that for that we created like an innovative way, not an innovative thing. It's like simple thing. Like we wanted to. There is already youth over there, like Priyanka and everyone. So we thought like making real entertaining movies at these conferences, which we could use to share these ideas to the general public. That's a main thing of climate entertainment, like taking the UN language, breaking it up into a smaller digestible form so that even the uneducated people can understand, and also be more entertaining so that people watches that and reacts to it and makes more TikTok like things that can be like redone by them in like their home. You can see like a lot of movies being like reels and everything based on movies people are doing. What if we could do that with climate change materials related to climate change, or stuff like other problems that we are facing? If people start doing that, there will be a bigger impact. Like people from yeah, that's one of the photos I took at the headquarters. That's from my Instagram, Mr. Cosmic King. So if you guys wanted to like talk to me or anything, you can text me over there. So so that's the main reason. And what I did was for the launch of the event, to tell the world that we done our first conference in Mexico, that to Parliament of Mexico, with the support of the government of Mexico. We did the conference in Hidalgo and we took the movie. Now it's on production process, like editing and everything. So it was real fun. We involved people from Mexico's Parliament, Mexico City, mostly like the most of the youth activists from that region, like on NGOs, youth activists, other people from other countries like Netherlands, and yeah, all of the youth over there, they were really interested in the project, and they were like all pitching in, giving their time, and yeah, we made it possible because of all the youth, all the efforts that youth put forward. And most of the funding, it was like really just for the food. A conference done with just the amount we have, like food. That was it, like just giving food and asking they were to come join with us in the conversation, and we just provided food, and it was really interactive, and we made the movie possible. So stay tuned for the movie. It's on edit and everything, so it'll be like really fun movie, so that we as entertaining everyone can watch. So it involves love, fights, everything like a normal movie in India, maybe like that. But we are focusing on local level, so we are planning for more movies in different parts of the world. So yeah, the movie project is really going forward, and it was my small idea. It was my small idea, and I just went up with some action, like trying to bring up some friends of mine I've met from conferences, like Roberto, who was from Mexico. I just pitched this idea. He had an NGO. He just gave me an invite letter, so I applied for the visa, and I got the visa in three hours. That was the fastest visa I got, printed in my passport. And yeah, I went to Mexico, did what I wanted, like a small idea. But now it's like every other like organization watching that idea, they wanted to do the same thing. They wanted to make movies. They wanted to highlight what's happening over their local level, so that more people understands the value of the use of storytelling as key for making awareness, education, and everything. So that is my climate entertainment. And yeah, there's more organizations like conferences happening here in India, which is coming up. They are also asking me to like integrate this climate entertaining thing into their conferences. So stay tuned, it's going big.
Kudos to you for actually, making climate education so accessible to everybody. That is one thing that we actually need to work on, and we've all been talking about it since the beginning of the session, that people are not aware of the issues that they are facing. So if you put it down in a movie, it's going to be a blockbuster. And I definitely think all of us should have a screening together. So yeah, we should all collectively work on, mainstreaming climate education into our local areas, and entertainment can be a great intervention. So
Or
that was
when it
great.
has something like that, like entertaining, there is work going on, and I recently like getting to know all of these people, and they were like, oh, please join us, and we could do more. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So now to move on, I would like to ask Abhishek. Abhishek, what do you think will be the major outcome of this global conference? And do you have any special message for the youth?
Thanks, Shagun. At last, I want to tell about the what is the major outcomes of the United Nations Water Conference. Uh, as per my perspective, they are only making agenda for international action plan. They are talking about policies making, and they have only allocated funds for water action agenda. But I think, as per my perspective, they are need to take their agenda to the ground level. As per United Nations climate change, the global outcomes of this conference is the main result of the conference was the creation of international water action agenda to which businesses, governments, multilateral institutions and NGOs made more than 670 commitments aimed to resolving the water security issue. Over 164 governments and 75 multilateral pledged their for their support. Also, the commitments are voluntary and are not legally binding. They are accepted the inspire collectivity political will to tackle the numerous of water related challenge. And I want to also tell about the what is the budget of Indian Ministry allocated in the UN Water Conference about the Jal Jeevan Mission and all the project of Indian Jal Shakti Mantri. But I want to tell about the what is the commitment and presentation of Indian Ministry in UN Water Conference. During the conference, the Indian Minister Shekhawat in representing the Indian delegation of Indian Ministry and his committing, India made two significant commitments, investing near about 240 billions dollars in the water sector and taking measures to restore the groundwater level. Sorry, India pledged to invest $50 billion to enhance the rural drinking water service through the Jal Jeevan Mission. The more viable solution to excessive groundwater exploitation is to reduce the amount of pumping. The pumping process is very common in our areas. People are using borewell. People are uh, people are using submersible in their house. Day by day, they are increasing the numbers of pumping in their house. So the government wants to reduce the amounting of pumping, but they are also want to changing some policies, and they are require cooperation between multiple agencies and ministries. The water problem is not longer about ensuring access to water. And I have a short request and I have a short message to the youth of Odisha and to the youth of uh, whole India. Try to be a leader, and leader वो होता है लीड करने की क्षमता करे. इस जो ग्लोबल क्राइसिस है, जो वाटर क्राइसिस है, जो एनवायरमेंट क्राइसिस है, उसे टैकल कर पाएंगे. कि हमें मतलब लीडर बनना है, लीड लेना है, लेकिन हमें अपने बगल वालों को उसको भी एज अ लीडर प्रमोट करना है और हमें सबको साथ में लेके हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस हो रही है. क्योंकि मैं कई लोगों से ऐसे मुझे
Okay, guys, moving on. I think we've lost Abhishek. There's some network issues on his end. So we can probably go on with the next question and then he can come back and resume. Yeah. So moving on, Gokul, I would really like to ask you, what do you think an individual, particularly a youth, can do to bring about some change?
Anything. You can do anything, because Even God can't tell you what you can do or what you can't do. Even God. So it's like whatever comes to you, you can do. Try doing it. Maybe it work. Maybe it'll work. Most of the time, I see young people who are at the UN or places like that. They try to copy how these officials are doing. They try to be diplomatic. They wear suits and everything. Try to be like more like these official people. But we as a youth, we don't need to do that. We have to be unique because there is already people over there doing that thing. Why should we also do that? So be yourself, do something more, innovate, and there is a new way for everything we can. Like right now, there's Chat GPT coming up, so people are scared that they might lose their job. So it's innovation is going on really fast, and the world is changing really, really fast. So if you have a great idea, you think it's worth working for, giving your time, then sure, go for it. If the UN doesn't support this innovative idea, I will be like banned from UN for doing that work in the UN assembly. If UN doesn't support innovative ideas, that's the main reason I did that, so that the people can see, the young people can see that if you have an idea, if you are willing to work for it, even the doors of UN will open for you, even the doors of UN, and even a simple idea can change the world.
That was amazing. That was indeed amazing. So do anything but be yourself and do something. Like start somewhere and you'll eventually find your destination.
Yeah.
So yeah. Priyanka, I would like to ask you the same question. What would be your take on this?
So I think Gokul just set the very exciting tone. Youth can do so much and innovation. I would definitely echo what he said and, get inspired and not wear suits at UN conferences, I guess. So very brave of Gokul to create that community for himself where he can create that platform. And, I really get inspired that you have created that for yourself where, you've made an app, took it across the world, and you made a climate entertainment idea and took it across the world. So really exciting. And then you can, innovate, like you said. So I think there's multiple ways of bringing about the change, and it's so massive now कि अभी मतलब अलग-अलग platforms है, so खुद के जो passionate ideas है, bring that forward, see how you can how you as yourself bring what sort of skill. So recognizing that is also a journey, because मतलब अभी क्या हो गया कि young people, there are other people doing so much that we get a bit like, oh, why am I not being able to do it? So that's also, that is a process, and it's a journey to become a delegate or a young person who's leading or working in a movement. So I think that we all have to have that journey and be okay with looking at each other and learning from each other and understanding from each other. So I got to understand so much whilst being at the conference with Gokul, Abhishek, others from Y Waste. We had some youth coming in. So it was really like very a good atmosphere that we created ourselves, actually, because we were not briefed or anything, but we were there as Indian youth. And so we sort of, went to different side events that were very relevant for us. So that's sort of my message. And I would say that, yeah, thanks a lot that I could even voice it. Yeah, Gokul, go ahead.
Yeah, most of the youth I talk to, they say that, I'm studying medicine or I'm studying engineering. What can I do for this? It's part of like who study environment science. They should do all that, right? Most of the people think like that, and I don't think that I agree with them, because as a Ayurvedic doctor, I used my own ideas to bring a change. So that I've seen that every person, whatever field you are studying right now or whatever you are doing right now, it doesn't count. What matters is that what you can do as an individual, because every day we are polluting this nature as well. Like part of what we breathe, we are polluting the environment. And even planting a tree is good, but it's like the old talk. What we can do is like plant a tree. It's simple as that. Now it's time for innovation, and it's time for people to bring their new ideas to the table, because everyone is looking for new ideas for bringing up action. even the UN is open for ideas. Yeah.
Right, perfectly mentioned. And like we discussed throughout the entire session, that you do not have to be in a particular domain to do something about climate issues or environmental issues. It's all very interdisciplinary and very multidisciplinary in nature. So we have an Ayurvedic doctor who went to the UN Water Conference. So that's all I can say.
Who is skipping his exams
Right.
to do all that.
So,
And one more thing,
yeah.
we need both of the officials, the UN, the government, and everyone to bring up our own actions. And yeah, that is really important for us.
Well noted. So moving on, Priyanka, do you have any special message from the UN Water Conference for our youth?
Special message would be that get inspired and get in touch with us would be a good idea for like step one, knowing how it is in such conferences. If you would like to go, there are multiple forms, applications that we keep sharing on Mica platform, Youth4Water as well. So there are also local ways that we can all work together. So local conference of youth 2023 will be coming soon. So there's different ways that we can go ahead and don't feel the pressure of being part of conferences. It's one way of advocating, not the only way. Find your own way of advocating as well. Yeah, that would be my message. Thank you.
Okay, panel, we have questions from the audience. So I think we should dig into that. So I'll be reading out the question and any one of you can probably come in and answer. Is that fine for everybody? Okay. So the first question is from Omkar. Is the youth voice heard? Are there policy actions which happen after hearing conferences? Just give me a second. I am not able to access the full question. Yeah. Is the youth voice heard? Are there policy actions which can happen after hearing conferences? How can this translate to real action in near future?
Yeah, Sagun, please. I'm suffering from some network issues. That's why
Yeah, sure.
please repeat.
I'll go in with the question again. Is the youth voice heard? Are there policy actions which happen after hearing conferences? How can this translate to real action in the near future?
Okay, so पहला क्वेश्चन ये है कि क्या मतलब यूथ की वॉइसेस को हर्ड मतलब वहां पे सुना गया या फिर सुना गया या सुना जा रहा है, लेकिन एज पर माई एक्सपीरियंस, एज पर माई पर्सपेक्टिव, मुझे देखने को ये मिला कि मतलब उन यूथ की बातें सुनी जा रही है जो ऑलरेडी सच इन अ हायर पोजीशन, जो मतलब किसी एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को लीड कर रहे हैं. मतलब वो जहां तक मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया, फिर वही बातें करूंगा पुरानी जो मैंने अभी दोहराया था कि मतलब दे आर ओनली टॉकिंग अबाउट himself and themselves. They are talking about their only own organization. They are not taking the lead of a community. They are not taking a lead of indigenous people. They are not talking. They are not talking about the climate impacted people. They are only promoting themselves. They want their. They are only showing that they are doing something for climate. They are doing something for environment. But I think I requested to higher authorities, if possible, please, the UN Water Conference is not beneficial for the youth. They are only creating a water action agenda, international water action agenda. But where is the water action agenda implementation on the ground? Already the conference has been passed, but no message from a secretariat of water conference, no message from the UN Water Secretariat for implementing those policies who are making in the water conference.
Okay, thank you so much for answering, Abhishek. Does Priyanka or Gokul, do you want to add in? I think we are good to go. Priyanka, do you want to add in? Or
so just the policy part, which Omkar also had put the question is how do we translate it and bring it into action? Is that if suppose like for instance we have the case of India, they have committed for the pledge. They can see also at the ministry level how youth can be engaged. We can help as youth to help reach that goal maybe quicker, maybe with innovative solutions. So connecting policy, if we want action on the ground, how can we connect the ministries also with youth. So that is still yet a very much new idea when we talk to government stakeholders. So that can be a one way to meaningfully, engage youth.
Shagun, I want to add something.
Yeah.
मैं पिछले कई महीनों में मतलब मुझे मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इन्वायरमेंट एंड मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ जल शक्ति के ऑफिसर्स के साथ कांटेक्ट करने का अवसर मिला। मुझे डायरेक्टरेट ऑफ इन्वायरमेंट फॉरेस्ट एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज के सेक्रेटरी के साथ मीटिंग करने का अवसर मिला। लेकिन जहां तक कि मेरा जो एक्सपीरियंस था, उन्हें मतलब द हायर अथॉरिटीज सोचती हैं कि यूथ ओनली फॉर दे आर ओनली फोकस, वो कहती है कि तुम अपने पढ़ाई पे फोकस करो, या फिर तुम अपने लोकल, जो मैं मतलब अपनी बातें जो मेरे ऊपर मैंने सफर किया है, उन्होंने मतलब हमें इसलिए समझा है कि दे आर यूथ एंड प्लीज आप अपने पढ़ाई पे फोकस करो, अपने पर्सनल लाइफ पे। और उन्होंने मतलब कई जगहों से मुझे सुनने का ये भी मिला है कि अकेले तुम क्या कर लोगे, अकेले तुम कैसे क्लाइमेट को तुम सुधारोगे, कैसे रिस्टोर करोगे, कैसे इसको मिटिगेट और अडेप्टेशन और सारी बातें करोगे। तो मुझे लगता है कि मिनिस्ट्री और हमारे हायर अथॉरिटीज को समझना पड़ेगा कि यूथ इज द बैकबोन ऑफ एनी कंट्री। जब तक आपकी रीढ़ की हड्डी नहीं रहेगी तब तक आप चल नहीं पाएंगे। तो प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हम भी कुछ कर सकते हैं और हमें एंगेज किया जाए। हमारे लिए Y20, G20 एंड W20, C20 कितने 20s हो रहे हैं, लेकिन why they are not engaging the youth from the local area? They are only engaging the youth from higher authority, higher universities and from the multilateral organization. They are not engaging the youth from the local communities.
You are mostly famous as well, just famous for the name of the conference. Yeah, she came. Wow. That's it.
I strongly agree.
And
I feel
so over and over in all conferences as well. Over and over.
I strongly agree. Firstly, representation is not adequate. And secondly, even with the limited representation that the youth gets, the representation is also not diverse in nature. So, like you all mentioned quite a lot of times, that there are particular names that keep flashing up. However, I'm pretty sure when you were at the UN Water Conference, fishermen के issues के बारे में बात हुआ होगा, काफी कुछ हुआ होगा. But did you see any local fisher kid there? I do not really think. So that's the thing. We keep on voicing everybody else's stories. And the people जिनकी वो खुद की story है, they're not getting a chance to say their own story. So, and also one thing that I have noticed is when we hear of the term, youth and climate action, the first thing that comes to our mind is activism. People do not think that youth can play a role which is, greater than just activism or advocacy. We're talking about policy implementation. Yes, I'm so sorry for that. There was a network issue. Yeah, there was a network issue on my end. So sorry for that. Yes, so now we can probably move on to the next question. So the next question we have. Yes.
जैसे आपने फिशरमैन की बात अभी मतलब दोहराई है कि क्या वाटर कॉन्फ्रेंस में फिशरमैन की बात हुई, तो मुझे मतलब कल एक एक्सपीरियंस हुआ। यहाँ पे एक कॉन्फ्रेंस थी जहाँ पे एग्रीकल्चर और क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड इन्वायरमेंट की बात करें, कैसे क्लाइमेट चेंज अफेक्ट करता है एग्रीकल्चर को। तो वहाँ पे किसान उन्होंने डेनमार्क से बुला के रखा था, मतलब एक डेनमार्क से आदमी को बुला के उसको किसान बोल रहे थे कि ये फार्मर बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं। क्या हमारे इंडिया में किसान नहीं है? मतलब मैंने अभी रिसेंटली ये सब देखा है।
नहीं है इसीलिए।
Okay, so we need to keep in mind that there is adequate representation if that is what we are trying to come at, and also the representation is diverse in nature, and everybody gets, like, the people who are actually being affected, they get a chance to speak out for themselves.
I have one story.
Yeah, sure.
I was at CSW 67. There was a lady from Africa who was running a foundation, and she said an idea. It was a side event, and what she said was not heard properly by the people who were taking notes. And she was saying that, like, we need more people, like more inclusion of more people, but not the same way as we are selecting the people like who are familiar with all these platforms. She was saying random people, and the person who was writing down, she was writing something else. And she was saying that again and again, still the voice was not heard in a proper way. And she was like saying that this conference is good, people listen to us, and when she goes back, someone who has learned or something like that makes a note of something of this and tells to everyone that she went to this conference, did said all this information, and everyone does a clap. Wow, she went to a conference and she came back from New York. Wow, what's the action? That was not going down to those people who are really affected. They are not getting voice. They are not getting to get a solution properly implemented for them. For that, we need governments and everyone. Like sustainability comes, inclusion is a key for sustainability, and we need to improve that.
Perfect. So inclusion is one point that we definitely need to, work more towards. So moving on, the next question is very interesting. So this question is from Sanskriti. How can more and more youth be involved in local and state policy actions as well as on-ground actions? So panelists, who would like to take this?
More ways. I think I should add one point, like more education. Like we should include how a person can learn more on how they can be like more to society than what we learn science and math stuff. Maybe like an example for, we learn maths or physics in a way, like having an example, like the train is going in a speed of like 60 kilometers per hour and a person is running in the opposite direction in a 30 kilometers per hour. We can implement, change some of these and implement it in a way that people get exposed to climate change education as well, to to mix climate change into the formal education system. That's the best one of the ways we can do it. Then ask students to do their own projects individual level in the school itself, like small group making. How can they, like library group, climate change group in the school level itself, so that they get to learn how to make groups, leadership quality, how to improve themselves in a school level itself. Because from where I came, I didn't get this from school. I have not got this from schools. I made it from my own research, studies, and everything. So I think most of the people who lack this is because they don't get an initial level of understanding that the world is changing and we need to change as well. Yeah.
Can I just quick come in here?
Sure.
Because what Gokul just mentioned, two different activities we're actually doing in Maharashtra, and Sanskriti Menon from Center for Environment Education. If Sanskriti, if you want to unmute, I don't know if you're available to speak right now, but if you could tell us these two different interventions which Gokul just mentioned, I mean, it's totally in line with what we're doing.
And also, this is not the solutions as well. If you have any new ideas, go ahead, implement it, see what's happening. Yeah.
No, I feel like an interloper. I'm an old person in a youth panel discussion, but thank you, both of you, for sharing this. But yeah, I think with UNICEF, and I think in many parts of the country, many environmental education organizations are trying to make school education much more creative, much more focused on environmental education and climate action. And this is really important. But what I think we really need is, this kind of interaction where people like yourselves, young people, and maybe even younger people, 14-year-olds onwards, who are telling us, those who are involved in environmental education, and even the teachers, what are the kinds of activities that interest you? What are the things that you get curious about? What are the things that you'd like to apply yourself to? I think those very creative ideas, because, when we were growing up, of course, you hear this all the time, no social media, etc. Now, what are interesting things now I think that needs to really evolve. And I strongly feel that the civics, which is like a 50-page textbook often, and it's maybe just 5 marks or something like that, is hardly given any importance. So the science and geography, etc. But civics is what we all are actually engaging in. We are acting and speaking as citizens. We want to influence our local government actions, village panchayat actions, municipality actions. A lot of the change has to happen locally. And if we don't know how elections work locally, how can we influence and act together in my own ward, in my own neighborhood, with my own municipal budget or village panchayat development plan? I think that's very critical for influencing then resilience planning and resilience action. So, but I really want to know that, I think whether it's through entertainment, skits, music, dance, that we learn, we enjoy, we collaborate, we create, we engage. But want to hear more ideas from you all. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. That was really insightful.
Yeah. So people who are listening to this, if you have any idea, go ahead, try it out. Yeah.
And also another thing, like the question asks about how can we increase youth participation in policy action. So the first is, like we all mentioned, awareness and educating youth about the same. But however, I would also like to emphasize on the fact that we need to give the youth that space to intervene in policy. When policies are being framed and implemented, I do not think there's a lot of representation of the youth in that particular aspect. So even the institutions, they need to create space for the youth to intervene. So that is one very important parameter that I think should be incorporated. So moving on to the next question. Next question from Anvesha, and this is directed towards Gokul. As you are from the Ayurveda background, can you suggest how we can fight against climate change using our interventions of Ayurvedic knowledge?
Wow, that's a great question. For that, I created my app called Govardhan. It's like an app where we can connect people with the nature. So where we wanted to give a username to every single plant and animal in the world. That's my goal and what I'm working forward for. So it's like we collect information about how indigenous people are using these plants, because every medicinal plant in the world is like a plant which is protecting us, which is ready to give us protection. Every plant is ready outside our house, is ready to give us protection and whatever it can to support the ecosystem and what we should give back. Or we are losing the connection between plants and moving forward to like something like a retail shop. Like the retail shops gives you food, supermarkets give you food. We are like disconnecting from the nature. For people to get understanding about this, I started Govardhan, which we use to like preserve the indigenous information, knowledge how they use plants, so we can preserve that information and keep it like validate the information. And yeah, I have support from 140 countries who are willing to support this project. From the COP, because I got opportunity to go to COP, I got an opportunity to connect with these many people, and now these many countries are there supporting me. So that's a big, not 140, sorry, 40 countries. 40 countries are ready to support me. So when I went to Indonesia, the IPB University just invited me to their university. I just went saw all their innovative products over there, like what they're doing, how they're doing. I went to Mexico. I did my movie in the Parliament of Mexico. Inside the Parliament, directly I went inside. So yeah, and in US, I went to the US Herbarium. They opened the herbarium for me. Welcome to US. The National US Herbarium was open in front of me, and the Smithsonian Museum, they asked me like, you can come here, read any book you want, go around. Even that was like really huge thing for Ayurveda. As an Ayurvedic student, for me, it was proud moments. And yeah, and for my Govardhan app, I got invited to Impact 5 to put like a pavilion over there for free. So if you start your own initiative, it can be huge. When like if you do it for slow, little by little. I started by like making a small app. I'll self-learn myself making my apps, how to make apps, because I had passion on that. I started my app and slowly built an app for my college that I had 253 plants in that, so students can learn from that. That's all. That was the main first initiative. When I went for COP26, I learned that there is a lot of plants that I don't know, my teachers don't know, and there is a lot out there who we need to make a global initiative. So I started Govardhan, making a social media app. Right now it's running in Play Store. Right now it's available. So I'm right now still learning about new medicine. Like when I went to US, I went to acupuncture and Chinese medicine college in US in San Francisco. So they showed me how Chinese medicine works, how we can, like, they had sessions in the forest. They took me to the forest, the redwoods, and they had sessions with the tree, hugging the tree, spending the time in the tree. And after that, like in 1 hour within the forest, we came back, they checked our pulse and everything. We were like 50% more, not 50, 30% more calmer. Our pulse were low and we were relaxed by connecting to the nature. And that is some way I think we as holistic medicine or indigenous knowledge is really coming back. And I'm really like, I'm not writing my exams and skipping my Ayurvedic studies. Like I'm done with my schools, but classes, but I'm not writing my exams because always when an exam comes up, I had to go somewhere. Still, I'm like 6 months behind now, but still I'm doing my project and it's going good. So right now I'm working on bringing a global initiative. The Chinese medicine over there is really interested to work together to bring Chinese medicine combined with Ayurvedic medicine for like bringing up well-being sessions for climate activists itself, because most of the people are trying really hard. For me itself, I had to be outside country for 2.5 months. And it was a really hard journey. I was like really worried, will I get a US visa or not? I was trying, calling a lot of people, and it was really a mess. And I know people who are volunteering as well who are having a real bad time, because always when it's time for them, like time it's for Priyanka, she gives the time for action. So she doesn't get enough time for herself. So we wanted to focus on this as well to give more health-wise support to people in a natural way. Yeah.
That was amazing, Gokul, and we're so proud of you for everything that you're doing and motivating so many people. That is indeed great. So this was such an enlightening conversation. As a youth climate activist myself, I am glad to see that youth like us are beginning to get a seat at the table for discussion on water and climate. It has been overdue for a very long time, and right now it is necessary because youth and children are going to be the most badly affected by the imbalances that we are creating. Abhishek, Priyanka, and Gokul, let's stay connected and keep working for water and climate with each other and with the Youth4Water Plus and MICA and all other youth cohorts that we are a part of. Thank you all again for this inspiring discussion. Thank you, Youth4Water Plus, for the opportunity to learn from this wonderful interaction. It was great having all of you here.
Thank you so much, Shagun. Thank you, Youth4Water, for coordinating this entire event. Thank you, Abhishek, for helping me connect with Gokul and Youth4Water as well. So thanks a lot, all of you.